Hooah! To the abdomen, to the thorax. Hello everybody, we are in episode 7 of our Elder Scrolls 3, The Elder Scrolls 3, Morrowind playthrough. This is a blind playthrough. If you're here, you probably realize that by now. It's a blind playthrough, never played the game. So, we are leaving this cave. We just left off previously on Eden Uran. And we are on our way to Balmora. We finished there was a quest up here with a lady. I don't know if she's going to be up here or if she was maybe back there. I think she's up here. It was the Beauty and the Bandit quest, which we completed. Then we cleared out that cave. There were a bunch of books we ended last time. We read a whole bunch of books. And now we're hoofing it over to Balmora. Let's take a peek over this ridge. Oh, a river. This would be a nice fishing spot. What are those things? I think those are seashells. This pink thing, I'm not quite sure. So I'm going to dive in my full plate armor. Try to see what this is. This might be a bad choice. Oh, it's just another shell. Notice my fatigue. This is what happens when you swim in full plate. Get back to land! Get back to land! Those slaughterfish are relentless. Oh, we have some towers up there. Maybe that's Balmora. I need to do some walking. If anyone knows of, again, I don't want to be too cheaty in this playthrough, but if there's a way for me to fix the fatigue on the running from town to town thing, that would be nice. We would just call it our mount cheat. Balmora is this way. So we're gonna completely avoid those futuristic looking, that sphere with the cylinder coming out of it, and that spire right there, and we're gonna go this way. Maybe that is Balmora, but we're gonna head this way. Alright, rat. You don't know what's good for you. I was all-time rat exterminator in my level 1 boxing class. You gotta get them up against the ropes so they don't fly back. Oh, it's dead. I almost want to take the rat meat just because I feel like I deserve it, but I don't really need rat meat. This is an unhealthy looking forest. Maybe it has been burned. Again, with the aggressive maggot. Now that gar is a peaceful animal, I believe. They use it for farming, I learned. And it's also not on our route. This is not on any route, but Okay, we're gonna resist temptation. Focus. By the way, I'm streaming from the heat wave of 2022. And our air conditioning is broken. So it is. It's not too bad. It's 85 degrees in here right now. Here it is, Balmora. It's just a wall. It looks more like a fort than a city. Oh, this is not Balmora. This is Moonmoth Legion Fort. Oh, we've heard about this place. He sees me. I'm gonna get out of fighting stance. Let's just check our journal. We're not gonna go in here and go crazy town with exploring everything. Let's check our journal. Have a little focused on the episode. We're 7 hours into the game and we're still not to Balmora to report Caius Cosatus. Beauty and the Bandit. She said she would introduce me to someone later on. Visit her friend Amuset Brox in Tel Arun. So that's not what we're looking for. This is the Stolstein place. Report Caius Casatus. Alright, this is who we want. Elone at Aril's Trade House gave me detailed directions to Balmora. When I find Caius Casatus, I must give him a package of documents and wait for further orders. So this is by order of the Emperor. We probably need to get to that instead of exploring Fort Moonmoth. Although it looks amazing. I'm not going to cross the line, but just look at all the possibility. I mean, there's 3 guards. There's a tree. Oh, it just, the curiosity is killing me, but we're going to ignore it. Creshweed. Chokeweed. Hey, Mammy, could you brew me up a nice bowl of chokeweed stew? Mammy. All right. This is the living side of the street, and that's the dead side of the street. I feel like I went north and then west, and now I'm going south again or something. Oh, there's a silt strider. I think we found it. Oh, it looks kind of like a desert town almost. This is obviously not a desert, but the architecture of the buildings, right? They're very low and long. A couple tall, like boxy towers. Something you might see in a desert. So we got one of those. What are those called? Nyx hounds over there, or silt strider. And then we have a whole town to explore. And we're just gonna cross the bridge here. Oh. Can we? Oh no. I guess that's to keep the bandits from running the walls, or the kids actually. The kids are probably, this is what the kids are all about. Let's go run the walls at night. Oh, here's one of those things. Oh, I thought this would be it just says Balmora. That says Balmora. Now there's another city over on that hill. Setting the distant far view or whatever it was in OpenMW makes the game, I would say, twice as interesting, because before then this is all just white fog, right? So you're standing here and you're like, oh, I got Balmora to go to. But here in this view of Balmora, you're like, Oh, what are those spires? Oh, and there's a little fort right there too, if I'm looking closely. Or is it? Right. Oh, it changed my view. There's a little fort right there, and then those spires up top, right? And then over here, I can see another city or fort or castle or something over there on the hill. And then I see this one. So it just makes you feel like you're have a little bit more immersion versus being in the fog of limited PC ability. Not really a fog of war. Oh, I thought something was behind me. You want some of this next hound? Let's go. 3 rounds. It actually sounds like he's saying ow. Listen. Either that or he's saying how. Like, how did you do that with just your fists? Hey, you're fighting with your fists, I'm fighting with my fists. Look at these dodges. Boom. Strafe. Dodge. Leap. Dodge. Okay. Almost up to 60 in my hand-to-hand skill already. It will definitely be the first one to 100. You gotta run up and get them before they get back up. My punches are so strong, it makes it through it like 10 feet up the hill. Hound meat. I'm not gonna take the hound meat. Can I dispose of the corpse though? I'm gonna clean up this city. Did you catch that reference? Any old timers watching? I'm gonna clean up this town. Now I'm wondering, when I did dispose corpse, if it actually acquired the meat. I don't want that to be a thing. It did. Right. Well. We got a Khajiit up here. We're just gonna stroll into town like we're a badass. Yeah, that's right. I got Dark Brotherhood boots on. Better watch out. I got a steel tower shield too.
Summoned by another. Questions again.
What? Hello, Mac. I'm Hool, and this is Balmora. I don't believe we've met. Is there something I can do for you? Yeah, perhaps there is. Let me take a sip of my coffee real quick. Hot coffee and 85 degrees. Perfect. Perfect gaming weather in my office. Cool. I have a character named Rule, R-U-L. Alright, let's see. Oh, we got a lot going on here. Balmora. Balmora is the council seat of Great House Lalu and the largest town in Vardenfell except for Vivek City. Located on the Odai River and sitting astride the Aldun Vivek Road, Balmora is an important mercantile trade and travel center. Hightown is the administrative center. With the temple and manor houses, the shops, guilds, and trade houses of the commercial district are north of the river. Labor towns, modest corner clubs, and homes are south of the river. If you're interested in some real estate, I could direct you. Imperial Cult Balmora's Imperial Cult Shrine is outside the town to the southeast in Fort Moonmoth. Eldasi Therothron is the priest in charge there. The altar there cures disease and poison, and they offer various other services as well. So, cure disease and poison, we go to Fort Moonmoth. Alright, we just read about Fort Moonmoth. I think we've read about that before, too. Names of the rulers of Fort Moonmoth. Ooh, latest rumors. People don't realize how deeply the Dark Elves resent the occupation. The real powers behind the Lalu Council, Orvas Dren, and his Kamonatong Syndicate nurse those ancient resentments. They haven't a chance of challenging Imperial authority now. But if the stability of the Empire were threatened, for example, if the legions were called because of some problem with the Septim's succession, Dren and the Tong might move openly to drive the Imperials out of Morrowind. Kimona Tong, huh? Concerning this, I can only speak to a friend, and Pool and I are not friends, I guess. Little advice. Outlanders new in Vardenfell do best in Balmora. House Lalu is Imperial through and throughout, and you get a good mix of native and Imperial people and services. Not as friendly to Outlanders up north in the House Redoran country, or down in Big Vivek city, and definitely not friendly outcasts with the Telvanni wizards. Telvanni? Bastani? Telvanni? Alright. Shop the outfitters and check out the guilds for work. If you want to be adopted by a great house, you'll need a patron, and that's easier when you've got a reputation. So this looks like this might be our next little hub. Little secret. Somebody said Larius Varo over at Fort Moonmoth is looking for you. Said he'd wanted to talk to you. Don't know what about. Alright, there's our invitation to Fort Moonmoth. My dog is melting on the floor over there. Poor guy. Fort Moonmoth is the Imperial Legion's garrison southeast of Balmora, just outside of town. Alright, yeah, we already saw that. Morrowind lore. The Dunmer are serious people and very serious about their gods and their temple. Pool is a pauper, one of the humble small folk. He cleans kitchens, factories. When times are good, I live well enough by my own work. When times are hard, I must hope for the charity of the nobles and the wealthy merchants. Alright, services in Balmora. We got the Lalu Council Manor for House Lalu services. Temple Faithful, go to the Balmora Temple. Outlanders, go to Fort Moonmoth, which is where we're supposed to go. Try Balmora Fighters Club, Balmora Mages Guild, and other services. Okay. Someone in particular. None of the Lalu counselors live in Balmora. Nileno Dorvain at the council hall is the high-ranking Lalu local. Fighter Club, Idus Fireeye is the steward. Ethasi Rilvain is the Morag Twung steward. Feldrello Sadri is the steward for the Balmora Tribunal Temple. Sugarlips Habasi is the local thieves guild boss. Who am I missing? Oh, Mages Guild. Ranus Atheris is their steward. Sugarlips Habasi. That's gonna go up as the best name so far in Morrowind. Sugarlips Habasi. He's got addicted to that sugar, whatever it's called. Southwall's Working Class Corner Club is in Balmora. Cast of Odaya River, or east of Odaya River. The text is so small, these E's look like C's. Specific place. Think in terms of districts in Balmora, right? On the hill to the west has the temple, Lalu Council Hall, rich manors, better shops, and Morag Tong. You know what, Hool, we're just gonna explore. Thank you for all the information. Oh no, I think the game froze. Oh, there's a continue button over here on the left. I'm like, I can't click goodbye. This guy's got a lot to say, but I'm an orc and my memory is not that long, so thanks for the help, bud. Gosh, all the chests and stuff. Balmora Drelasa Nithran Pawnbroker. A pawn store. Is that code for black market?
My time is precious, so make it.
Yeah, my time is precious too, man. I'm an orc on the mission for the Emperor. Your time is precious. You know what? I'm gonna sell you some good stuff. I got some Dark Brotherhood Right Gauntlets. He's still got 700 gold. Or he's got 700 gold total. And he's giving us horrible prices on this stuff, right? Value 500. Horrible prices. Look, he's giving me 149 for that. guess because it's Dark Brotherhood stuff, but it's... These are all what? Weight... These are all weight 1. Maybe I'll hold on to it. Yeah, that's bad pricing, man. It's giving us like 150 for it, so it's like a third of what we want. Let's look at his inventory, see what he has. Got some arrows. I think we're good on all that. Miscellaneous. Fortify health. Bargain poison resistance. Matzi! Let's take the Matzi. Spoiled potions. Yeah, this is probably not the place to go and buy your brandy or potions. Although brandy is pretty valuable, huh? So... Alright, we don't need to cheese for coin here. Bargain fortify health potion. Let's get it just in case. Repair times, we'll get those. This is all just weird stuff. Apprentice armor's hammer. I think I have that. I think we're just gonna do that just to do some business, rub some coin together. Bacola Closius is the owner, the proprietor of the South Wall, working class Balmora Corner Club, east of the Odai River. Alright, he's telling me about all the different guilds, the temple, Kimona Tong, can't talk about it. Fighters Guild, foreigners. We don't like foreigners much in Morrowind. This is our country, and we don't like foreigners. If you haven't heard me before, we don't like foreigners who come in and steal our land and our treasures and tell us what to do and how to live. And we don't like foreigners. Foyana Mamaka is a volcanic ravine that runs from the top of Red Mountain southwest to its end just below Balmora. An old Dwemer bridge crosses the Foyada near Fort Moonmoth. Is Foyada a word that I just don't know, or are they making this up? The best route to Ghost Gate is to follow Foyada Mamaya up from where the Pelagiad Balmora Road crosses. I'm not going to remember any of this, but yeah, it's a volcanic ravine. Hey Siri, define Foyada.
Okay, I found this on the web for Define Toyota. Check it out.
Toyota. That's what Siri came back with. I'm going to look it up. Pause. Yeah, so the only reference to Foyada is Elder Scrolls. It's a made-up word. Made up. Okay. So... back to minimize. Okay. Kimona Tong. Can't talk about this. I like that it stays on a right over. It stays unmarked even though I've clicked on it because they haven't revealed it to me. A guild guide is a spellcaster of the Mages Guild who provides magical transport for a small fee. You can only travel from one mage guild to the other. Alright, so mage guilds have their own kind of transportation system. Parallel to Silt Striders. Latest rumors. Everyone knows the Balmora magistrate Nolus Atreus is on the take. Thieves, thugs, and murderers are getting ridiculous sentences or paying a drake and walking free. Hey, that's good news for us if we want to do some stealing in Balmora. But they'll never get Atreus. He's got fat cats and family back in the city to cover him. The Legion champion, Lara Savaro, over at Moonmoth Legion Fort, he has sworn an oath to stop corruption. I don't see what he can do. Yeah, that's because I haven't gone to meet him yet. Little advice. The easy way to get started is to join a guild, do their jobs, earn your way up the ranks, get discounts, training, and other services, get you out and around Vardenfell a little at a time, get to know the country and the people. The guild takes an interest in you, doesn't send you in over your head. The Fighters Guild, and the Legion anyway. The Mages Guild is another story. Some old chair polisher doesn't have a clue what he's sending you into, doesn't much care. Some old chair polisher. Kind of what I'm turning into as I get older. Just a chair polisher. Ashlanders are the nomadic Dunmer barbarians of the Morrowind wastelands. They live in camps, small mobile huts, herding gar and hunting wildlife for meat and hides. We met one of those back in Pelagia. I'm a pawnbroker. I buy your goods, giving you cash on the counter. And if at a later date you wish to recover your goods, you need only pay me what they are worth, with a small profit, of course, for my time and trouble. I also sell things, sometimes used and worn, sometimes almost new, and all for a fraction of what they cost if purchased elsewhere. What about the Odai? The river Odai flows through the center of Balmora to the coast near Lal Od. Siltstrider services. Silval Sailcloth runs to Siltstrider Port on the southwest side of town, just inside the wall. I don't know that I need directions for that. I just walked by it. Thank you, Mr. or Mrs. whatever you are, Derlasi Nithrion. And I noticed you have some books here. Will you accuse me? Can I peruse your books? Or will I get accused of trying to steal? That's what I want to know. I'm going to run in circles just for your entertainment. Alright, now can I read your books? We haven't done a save yet. We should probably do a save. This is episode 7, Mac. It's still going. Oh my goodness. 48 pages. 48 pages. The Red Baronzaya, Volume 2. Let's take a look at these other books. Adra and Daedra. We've learned about this already, right? That they are different terms because it's just one page. Azura is the Daedra both in Skyrim and Morrowind. Adra is usually translated as ancestor, which is as close as Cyrodiilic can come to this elven concept. We learned about that already in another book. So that was Adra and Daedra. The annotated. What? What was that? Was that you, dude? Or lady? Was she coughing? Or am I imagining things? The annotated Anuad. Yeah, we read this. We read this. Biography of Queen Baronzaya. It's only 6 pages. The true nature of orcs. Oh, interesting. Just a short read too. Those are all the books. How are we doing for time? Let my assistant look real quick and give me a... We're about 30 minutes in. Alright, we're gonna go and read these guys here. I think I need to get a glass of water first, so I'm gonna pause it. I guess it would help if I unpaused it first. Alright, here we go. The Biography of Queen Baronzaya by Stern Gabogi, Imperial Scribe. I like saying the names as funny sounding as I can for the most part. Here we go. Late in the Second Era, a girl child, Baronzaya, was born to the rulers of the Kingdom of Mournhold in what is now the Imperial Province of Morrowind. She was reared in all the luxury and security befitting a royal dark elven child, until she reached 5 years of age. At that time, His Excellency, Tiber Septim I, the first Emperor of Tamriel, demanded that the decadent rulers of Morrowind yield to him and institute imperial reform. Trusting to their vaunted magic, the Dark Elves impudently refused until Tiber Septim's army was on the borders. An armistice was hastily signed by the now eager Dunmer, but not before there were several battles, one of which laid waste to Mournhold, now called Amalexia. Little Princess Berenziah and her nurse were found among the wreckage. The Imperial General Symmachus, himself a dark elf, suggested to Tiber Septim that the child might someday be valuable, and she was therefore placed with the loyal supporter who had recently retired from the Imperial Army. Sven Adventson had been granted the title of Count upon his retirement. His fiefdom, Darkmoor, was a small town in central Skyrim. Count Sven and his wife reared the princess as their own daughter, seeing to it that she was educated appropriately, and more importantly, that the imperial virtues of obedience, discretion, loyalty, and piety were instilled in the child. In short, she was made fit to take her place as a member of the new ruling class of Morrowind. The girl, Berenziah, grew in beauty, grace, and intelligence. She was sweet-tempered, a joy to her adoptive parents and their 5 young sons, who loved her as their elder sister. Other than her appearance, she differed from young girls of her class only in that she had a strong empathy for the woods and fields, and was wont to escape her household duties to wander there at times. Berenziah was happy and content until her 16th year, when a wicked orphan stable boy, whom she had befriended out of pity, told her he had overheard a conspiracy between her guardian, Count Sven, and a Redguard visitor to sell her as a concubine in Rihad, as no Nord or Breton would marry her on account of her black skin, and no dark elf would have her because of her foreign upbringing. "Whatever shall I do?" the poor girl said, weeping and trembling, for she had been brought up in innocence and trust, and it never occurred to her that her friend the stable boy would lie to her. The wicked boy, who was called Straw, said that she must run away if she valued her virtue, but that he would come with her as her protector. Sorrowfully, Berenziah agreed to this plan, and that very night she disguised herself as a boy, and the pair escaped to the nearby city of Whiterun. After a few days, they managed to get jobs as guards for a disreputable merchant caravan. The caravan was heading east by side roads in the mendacious attempt to elude the lawful tolls charged on the imperial highways. Thus the pair eluded pursuit until they reached the city of Riften, where they ceased their travels for a time. They felt safe in Riften, close as it was to the Morrowind border, so that dark elves were enough of a common sight. And if you're wondering, mendacious means to fib or to be untruthful. Thus ends the biography of Berenziah, Volume 1. I like when they start with Volume 1, because then when we see the next one, it's all in the right chronology. Alright, on to book number 2 of episode 7. The True Nature of Orcs. Orcs were born during the latter days of the Dawn Era. History has mislabeled them beastfolk related to the goblin races, but the orcs are actually the children of Trinimac. Hey, Trinimac! My name makes sense. My name and my character, Mac, the orc, makes sense within the lore of the game, and it was totally by accident. So he's named Mac in honor of Trinimac, the strongest of the Altamari ancestor spirits. When Trinimac was eaten by the Daedroth prince, Boethiah, and transformed in that foul god's insides, the orcs were transformed as well. The ancient name for the orcs is Orsimer, which means the pariah folk. They now follow Malak, the remains of Trinimac. Who is Malak, you ask? He is more commonly known as the Daedroth prince Malakoth, whose fear is the patronage of the spurned and ostracized, the sworn oath, and the bloody curse. He is not technically a Daedra lord, nor do the other Daedra recognize him as such, but this is fitting for his sphere. Of old, he was Trinimac, the champion of High Elven Pantheon, in some places more popular than Oriel, who protected them against enemies without and within. When Trinimac and his followers attempted to halt the Valathi dissident movement, Bathia ate him. Trinimac's bodies and spirit were corrupted, and he emerged as Malakoth. His followers were likewise changed for the worse, despised by everyone, especially the inviolate Ariel? They quickly fled to the northern wastes near Sarthal. They fought Nords and Chimer for a place in the world, but did not get much. In Skyrim, Malakoth is called Orki, or Old Knocker, and his battles with Ysmir are legendary. Have you heard the story of Old Knocker and Ysmir? Alright, are you ready? The longest book that we've read so far, The Real Baranziah, Volume 2. Here we go. I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit because it's just very long. The Real Baranziah, Part 2, Anonymous. Baranziah and Strauss. This is the second part of the story. Okay. The other one wasn't called The Real Baranzala, was it? Let me go over here. Biography of Baranziah. This is the real Baranziah. Baranziah and Strauss settled in a Riften for the winter, taking a cheap room in the slummier section of town. Baranziah wanted to join the Thieves Guild, knowing there would be trouble if she was caught freelancing. One day in a barroom, she caught the eye of a known member of the guild, a bold young Khajiit named Theris. She offered to bet him if he would sponsor her membership. He looked over her, grinning, and agreed, but said she'd still have to pass an initiation. Yeah, this is not the Baranziah that we know from the story from the other book. This is a completely different characterization of her. That's not in her character whatsoever. What sort of initiation? Theris said, pay up for sweetness. This passage has been censored by the order of the temple. Okay. Straw was going to kill her, and maybe Theris too. What in Tamriel had possessed her to do such a thing? That's what I'm asking. She cast an apprehensive look around the room, but the other patrons had lost interest and gone back to their own business. She did not recognize any of them. This wasn't the inn where she and Straw were staying. With luck, it'd be a while or never before Straw found out. Theris was by far the most exciting and attractive man she had yet met. He not only told her about the skills she needed to become a member of the Thieves Guild, but also trained her in them himself, or else introduced her to people who could. Among these was a woman who knew something about magic. Katisha was a plump and matronly Nord. She was married to a smith and had 2 teenage children, and was perfectly ordinary and respectable, except that she was very fond of cats, and by logical inference, their humanoid counterparts, the Khajiit. Had a talent for certain kinds of magic and cultivated rather odd friends. She taught Baranziah an invisibility spell and schooled her in other forms of stealth and disguise. Katisha mingled magical and non-magical talents freely, using one set to enhance the other. She was not a member of the Thieves Guild, but was fond of Theris in a motherly sort of way. Baranziah warmed to her as she never had toward any woman, and over the next few weeks she told Katisha all about herself. She brought Straw there too sometimes. Straw approved of Katisha, but not of Theris. Theris found Straw interesting and suggested to Baranziah that they arrange what he called a threesome. Whoa, Morrowind. Getting a little racy here. Absolutely not, Baranziah said firmly, grateful that Theris had broached the subject in private for once. He wouldn't like it. I wouldn't like it. Theris smiled his charming triangular feline smile and sprawled lazily on his chair, stretching his limbs and curling his tail. You might be surprised, both of you. Pairing is so boring. Baranziah answered him with a glare. Or maybe you wouldn't like it with this country bumpkin of yours, sweetness. Would you mind if I brought along another friend? This is definitely the sort of pulp fiction you'd find in a pawn shop. Yes, I would. If you're bored with me, you and your friend can find someone else. She was a member of the Thieves Guild now. She had passed their initiation. She found Theris useful but not essential. Maybe she was a bit bored with him too. She talked to Katisha about her problems with men, or what she thought of as her problems with men. Katisha shook her head and told her she was looking for love, not sex, that she'd know the right man when she found him, that neither Straw nor Theris was the right one for her. Baronzaya cocked her head to one side quizzically. They say dark elven women are something. Prostitutes? She said, although she was dubious. You mean promiscuous? Although some do become prostitutes, I suppose, Katisha said as an afterthought. Elves are promiscuous when they're young, but you'll outgrow it. Perhaps you're beginning to already, she added hopefully. She liked Baronzaya, had grown to be quite fond of her. You ought to meet some nice elven boys, though. If you go on keeping company with Khajiits and humans, and what have you, you'll find yourself pregnant in next to no time. Baronzaya smiled involuntarily at the thought. I'd like that, I think. But it would be inconvenient, wouldn't it? Babies are a lot of trouble, and I don't even have my own house yet. How old are you, Barry? 17. Well, you've a year or two yet before you're fertile, unless you're very unlucky. Elves don't have children readily with other elves after that. Even so, you'll be alright if you stick with them. Baronzaya remembered something else. Straw wants to buy a farm and marry me. Is that what you want? No, not yet. Maybe someday. Yes, someday. But not if I can't be queen. And not just any queen. The Queen of Morrowind. She said this determinedly, almost stubbornly, as if to drown out any doubt. Katisha chose to ignore this last comment. She was amused at the girl's hyperactive imagination, took it as a sign of a well-functioning mind. I think Straw will be a very old man before someday comes, Barry. Elves live for a very long time. Katisha's face briefly wore the envious, wistful look humans get when contemplating the 1,000-year lifespan elves had been granted by the gods. True, few ever actually lived that long, as disease and violence took their respective tolls, but they could, and one or two of them actually did. I like old men too, Barry said. Katisha laughed. Baronzaya fidgeted impatiently while Theris sorted through the papers on the desk. He was being meticulous and methodical, carefully replacing everything just as he'd found it. They'd broken into a nobleman's house, leaving Straw to hover outside as a lookout. Theris had said it was a simple job, but very hush-hush. He hadn't even wanted to bring any other guild members along. He said he knew he could trust Barry and Straw, but no one else. Tell me what you're looking for and I'll find it, Barry whispered urgently. Theris's night sight wasn't as good as hers, and didn't want her to magic up even a small orb of light. She had never been in such a luxurious place, not even the Darkmoor castle of Count Sven and Lady Inga, where she had spent her childhood, compared to it. She'd gaze around in wonder as they made their way through the ornately decorated and hugely echoing downstairs room, but Theris didn't seem interested in anything but the desk and the small book-lined study on the upper floor. Psst, he suggested angrily. Someone's coming, Barry said, a moment before the door opened and two dark figures stepped into the room. Theris gave her a violent shove toward them and sprang to the window. Baronzaya's muscles went rigid. She couldn't move or even speak. She watched helplessly as one of the figures, the smaller one, leaped after Theris. There were two quick, silent stabs of blue light, and Theris folded over into a still heap. Outside the study, the house had come alive with hastening footsteps and voices calling out an alarm, and the clank of armor hurriedly put on. The bigger man, a dark elf by the looks of him, half lifted, half dragged Theris to the door and thrust him into the waiting arms of another elf. A jerk of the first elf's head sent his smaller blue-robed companion after them. Then he sauntered over to inspect Baronzaya, who was once again able to move, although her head throbbed. Throbbed maddeningly when she tried to. Open your shirt, Baronzaya, the elf said. Baronzaya gawked at him and clutched it closed. You're a girl, aren't you, Barry? He said softly. You should have stopped dressing as a boy months ago, you know. You were only drawing attention to yourself, and calling yourself Barry. Is your friend Straw too stupid to remember anything else? It's a common elven name, Baronzaya defended. The man shook his head sadly. Not among dark elves it isn't, my dear. But you wouldn't know much about dark elves, would you? I regret that, but it couldn't be helped. No matter, I shall try to remedy it. Who are you? Baronzaya demanded. Aye, so much for fame, the man shrugged, smiling wryly. I am Symmachus, Milady Baronzaya, General Symmachus of His Awesome and Terrible Majesty Tiber Septim the First Imperial Army, and I must say it's a merry chase you led me through Tamriel. Or this part of it, anyway. Although I guessed, and guessed correctly, that you'd head for Morrowind eventually. You had a bit of luck. A body was found in Whiterun that was thought to be Straw's, so we stopped looking for the pair of you. That was careless of me, yet I'd not have thought you'd have stayed together this long. Where is he? Is he all right? She asked in genuine trepidation. Oh, he's fine for now, in custody, of course. He turned away. You care for him, then? He said, and then suddenly stared at her with fierce curiosity, out of red eyes that seemed strange to her except in her own seldom-seen reflection. He's my friend, Baronziah said. The words came out in a tone that sounded dull and hopeless to her own ears. Symmachus, a general in the Imperial Army no less, said to have the friendship and ears of Tiber Septim himself. Ah, you seem to have several unsuitable friends, if you'll forgive me saying so, my lady. Stop calling me that, she was irritated by the general's seeming sarcasm, but he only smiled. As they talked, the bustle and flurry in the house died away, although she could still hear people, presumably the residents, whispering together not far off. The tall elf perched himself on a corner of the desk. He seemed quite relaxed and prepared to stay a while. Then it occurred to her, several unsuitable friends, had he said. This man knew all about her, or seemed to know enough anyway, which amounted to the same thing. What's going to happen to them? To me? Ah, as you know, this house belongs to the commander of the Imperial troops in this area, which means to say that it belongs to me. Baronziah gasped, and Symmachus looked up sharply. What? You didn't know? Tis. Why, you are rash, my lady, even for 17. You must always know what it is you do or get yourself into. But the guild wouldn't ha. Baronziah was trembling. The Thieves' Guild would never have attempted a mission that crossed Imperial policy. No one dared oppose Tiber Septim, at least no one she knew of. Someone at the Guild had bungled, badly, and now she was going to pay for it. I dare say it's unlikely that Theris had Guild approval for this. In fact, I wonder. Symmachus examined the desk carefully, pulling out drawers. He selected one, placed it on top of the desk, and removed a false bottom. There was a folded sheet of parchment inside. It seemed to be a map of some sort. Baronziah edged closer. Symmachus held it away from her, laughing. Rash indeed. He glanced it over and then folded and replaced it. You advised me a moment ago to seek after knowledge. So I did. Suddenly he seemed to be in a high good humor. Well, we must be going, my dear lady. He shepherded her to the door, down the stairs, and out into the night air. No one was about. Baronziah's eyes darted toward the shadows. She wondered if she could outrun him or elude him somehow. You're not thinking of attempting to escape, are you? Aye, don't you want to hear first what my plans are for you? She thought that he sounded a bit hurt. Now that you mention it, yes. Perhaps you'd rather hear about your friends first. No. He looked gratified at this. It was evidently the answer he wanted, thought Baronziah, but it was also the truth. While she was concerned for her friends, especially Straw, she was far more concerned for herself. You will take your place as the rightful queen of Mournhold. Symmachus explained, which is what she wanted earlier. Symmachus explained that this had been his and Tiber Septim's plan for her all along. That Mournhold, which had been under military rule for the dozen or so years since she had been away, was gradually to be returned to civilian government under the Empire's guidance, of course, and as part of the imperial province of Morrowind. But why was I sent to Darkmoor, Baronziah asked. Hardly believing anything she had just been told. For safekeeping, naturally. Why did you run away? Baronziah shrugged. I saw no reason to stay. I should have been told. You would have been by now. I had in fact sent for you to be removed to the Imperial City to spend some time as part of the Emperor's household. But of course you had, shall we say, absconded by then. As for your destiny, it should be and should have been quite obvious to you that Tiber Septim does not keep those he has no use for. And what else could you be that would be of use to him? I know nothing of him, nor for that matter of you. Then know this, Tiber Septim rewards friends and foes alike according to their deserts. Baronziah chewed on that for a few moments. Straw has deserved well of me and has never done anyone any harm. He is not a member of the Thieves' Guild. He came along to protect me. He earns our keep by running errands, and he... Symmachus waved her impatiently to silence. I know all about Straw, he said. And about Theris, he stared at her intently. So, what would you do? What would you? What would you? So, what would you? That's weird. She took a breath. Straw wants a little farm. If I'm to be rich, then I would like for one to be given to him. Very well, he seemed astonished at this and then pleased. Done, he shall have it. And Theris? He betrayed me, Baronziah said coldly. Theris should have told her what risks the job entailed. Besides, he pushed her right into their enemy's arms in an attempt to save himself. Not a man to be rewarded. Not, in fact, a man to be trusted. Yes, and... well, he should be made to suffer for it, shouldn't he? That seems reasonable. What form should said suffering take? Baronziah balled her hands into fists. She would have liked to beat and claw at the Khajiit herself, but considering the turn events had taken, that didn't seem very queenly. A whipping, would 20 stripes be too many, do you think? I don't want to do him any permanent injury, you understand. Just teach him a lesson. Aye, of course, Symmachus grinned at this. Then his features suddenly set and became serious. It shall be done, your highness, my lady, Queen Baronziah of Mournhold. Then he bowed to her, a sweeping, courtly, ridiculously wonderful bow. Baronziah's heart leapt. She spent 2 days at Symmachus's apartment, during which she was kept very busy. There was a dark elven woman named Drellian who saw to her needs, although she did not exactly seem a servant since she took her meals with them, nor did she seem to be Symmachus's wife or lover. Drellian looked amused when Baronziah asked her about it. She simply said she was in the general's employ and did whatever was asked of her. With Drellian's assistance, several fine gowns and pairs of shoes were ordered for her, plus a riding habit and boots, along with other small necessities. Baronziah was given a room to herself. Symmachus was out a great deal. She saw him at most meal times, but he said little about himself or what he had been doing. He was cordial and polite, quite willing to converse on most subjects, and seemed interested in anything she had to say. Drellian was much the same. Baronziah found them pleasant enough, but hard to get to know, as Katisha would have put it. She felt an odd twinge of disappointment. These were the first dark elves with whom she had associated closely. She had expected to feel comfortable with them, to feel at last that she belonged somewhere with somebody as part of something. Instead, she found herself yearning for her Nordic friends Katisha and Straw. When Symmachus told her they were to set out for the imperial city on the morrow, she asked if she could say goodbye to them. Katisha, he asked. Aye, but then I suppose I owe her something. She it was who led me to you by telling me of the lonely dark elven girl named Barry who needed elven friends, and who sometimes dressed as a boy. She has no association with the Thieves' Guild, apparently, and no one associated with the Thieves' Guild seems to know your true identity, save Theris. That is well. I prefer that your former guild membership not be made public knowledge. Please speak of it to no one, your highness. Such a past does not become an imperial queen. No one knows but Straw and Theris, and they won't tell anyone. No, he smiled a little curious smile. No, they won't. He didn't know that Katisha knew then. But still, there was something about the way he said it. Straw came to their apartment on the morning of the departure. They were left alone in the salon. Although Baronziah knew that other elves were within earshot, he looked drawn and pale. They hugged one another silently for a few minutes. Straw's shoulders were shaking and tears were rolling down his cheeks, but he said nothing. Baronziah tried a smile. So we both get what we want, eh? I'm to be Queen of Mournhold, and you're to be lord of your own farmstead. She took his hand, smiled at him warmly. Genuinely. I'll write you, Straw, I promise. You must find a scribe so you can write me too. Straw shook his head sadly. When Baronziah persisted, he opened his mouth and pointed at it, making inarticulate noises. Then she realized what it was. His tongue was gone, had been cut off. Baronziah collapsed onto a chair and wept noisily. But why, she demanded of Symmachus when Straw had been ushered away. Why? Symmachus shrugged. He knows too much. He could be dangerous. At least he's alive, and he won't need his tongue to raise pigs or whatever. I hate you, Baronziah screamed at him, then abruptly doubled over and vomited on the floor. She continued to revile him between intermittent bouts of nausea. He listened stolidly for some time while Drellian cleaned up after her. Finally, he told her to cease or he would gag her for journey to the Emperor. They stopped at Katisha's house on their way out of the city. Symmachus and Drellian Draliani, however you say her name, didn't dismount. All seemed normal. Baronzaya was frightened as she knocked on the door. Katisha answered the knock. Baronzaya thanked the gods silently that at least she was all right. But she'd also obviously been weeping. In any case, she embraced Baronzaya warmly. "Why are you crying?" Baronzaya asked. "For Theris, of course. You haven't heard? Oh dear." Poor Theris, he's dead. Baronzaya felt icy fingers creeping around her heart. He was caught stealing from the commandant's house, poor fellow, but that was so foolish of him. Oh, Barry, he was drawn and quartered this very dawn by the commandant's order. She started to sob. "I went. He asked for me. It was terrible. He suffered so before he died. I'll never forget it. I looked for you and Straw, but no one knew where you'd both gone to." She glanced behind Baronzaya. "That's the commandant, isn't it? Symmachus?" Then Katisha did a strange thing. She stopped crying and grinned. "You know, the moment I saw him, I thought, this is the one for Baronzaya." Katisha took a fold of her apron and wiped it across her eyes. "I told him about you, you know." "Yes, Baronzaya said, I know." She took Katisha's hands in each of hers and looked at her earnestly. "Katisha, I love you. I'm going to miss you. But please don't ever tell anyone else anything about me. Ever. Swear you won't, especially not to Symmachus. And look after Straw for me. Promise me that." Katisha promised, puzzled, though willing. "Barry, it wasn't somehow because of me that Theris was caught, was it? I never said anything about Theris to him." She glanced over at the general. Baronzaya assured her that it wasn't, that an informant had told the Imperial Guard of Theris's plans, which was probably a lie, but she could see that Katisha plainly needed some kind of comfort. "Oh, I'm glad of that. If I can be glad of anything just now, I'd hate to think. But how could I have known?" She leaned over and whispered in Baronzaya's ear. "Symmachus is very handsome, don't you think? And so charming." "I wouldn't know about that," Baronzaya said dryly. "I haven't really thought about it. There have been other things to think about." She explained hurriedly about being Queen of Morrowind and going to live in the Imperial City for a while. "He was looking for me, that's all, on orders from the Emperor. I was the object of a quest, nothing more than some sort of goal. I don't think he thinks of me as a woman at all. He said I didn't look like a boy, though," she added in the face of Katisha's incredulity. Katisha knew that Baronzaya evaluated every male she met in terms of sexual desirability and availability. "I suppose it's the shock of finding out that I really am a queen," she added, and Katisha agreed that yes, that's true. That must have been something of a shock, although one there was no likelihood of her experiencing firsthand. She smiled. Baronzaya smiled with her. Then they hugged again, tearfully for the last time. She never saw Katisha again, or Straw. The royal party left Riften by the great southern gate. Once through, Symmachus tapped her shoulder and pointed back at the portals. "I thought you might want to say goodbye to Theris, too, Your Highness," he said. Baronzaya stared briefly but steadily at the head impaled on a spike above the gate. The birds had been at it, but the face was still recognizable. "I don't think he'll hear me, although I'm quite sure he'll be pleased to know I'm fine," she said, seeming to sound light. "Let's be on our way, General, shall we?" Symmachus was clearly disappointed by her lack of reaction. "Aye, you heard of this from your friend Katisha, I suppose." "You suppose correctly she attended the execution," Baronzaya said casually. If he didn't know already, he'd find out soon enough. She was sure of that. Did she know Theris belonged to the guild? She shrugged. Everyone knew that. If only lower-ranking members like me, who are supposed to keep their membership secret... Oh, it's only, yeah. The ones higher up are well known. She turned to smile archly at him. Archly. But you must know all that, shouldn't you, General? She said sweetly. He seemed unaffected by this, so you told her who you were and whence you came, but not about the guild. The guild membership was not my secret to tell. The other was. There's a difference. Besides, Katisha's a very honest woman. Had I told her, it would have lessened me in her eyes. She was always after Theris to take up a more honest line of work. I valued her good opinion. She afforded him a glacial stare. Not that it's any concern of yours, but do you know what else she thought? She also thought I'd be happier if I settled down with just one man. Not one of my own race. I'm sorry, one of my own race. One of my own race with all the right qualities. One of my own race with all the right qualities who knows to say all the right things. You, in fact. She grabbed the reins preparatory to assuming a brisker pace, but not without sinking one final irresistible barb. Isn't it odd how wishes come true sometimes, but not in the way you wanted them to? Or maybe I should say, not in the way you would ever want them to? His answer so took her by surprise that she quite forgot about cantering off. Yes, very odd, he replied, and his tone matched his words exactly. Then he excused himself and fell behind. She held her head high and urged her mount onward, trying to look unimpressed. Now what was it about his response that bothered her? Not what he said, no, that wasn't it, but something about the way he said it. Something about it made her think that she, Baranzaya, was one of his wishes that had come true. Unlikely as this seemed, she gave it due deliberation. He had found her at last, after months of searching, it seemed, under pressure from the Emperor, no doubt. So his wish had come true, yes, that must be it. But in a way, apparently, not altogether to his liking. 48 pages. Ooh-wee. The real Baranzaya. So, yeah, that was an odd one. It wasn't written as well as some of the other stories, and it was very kind of farcical. A lot of like, oh, my athletics skill has increased to 23 from all my reading. Woohoo! Alright, so that was basically the pawnbroker's shop. Wow, what a journey it's been in our 7th hour of Morrowind, right? We basically... We peeked in at Fort Moonmoth, and then we arrived at Balmora and visited the pawnbroker's shop. That's it. That was an hour of gameplay. Crazy, crazy. Okay, so let me move my mic back so I'm not screaming. Alright, that should be pretty good. Alright, so we're going to end that there. Comment if you like you do. Thanks for watching. This has definitely turned out to be more of a reading series of videos than a gaming. We're a little bit of gaming here and there. Well, we did fight a Nixhound and a couple slugs and stuff. But there it is. Next time we'll venture deeper into Balmora and maybe finish the very first quest that we ever got in our 8th hour of the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. That's it. See you later. Bye-bye.